Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 130 of Nerd Pod Generations. Yes, 130. We have actually made it. As always, I am one of your hosts, Steve Taylor, along with the lovely Al Judson. Hello, sir.
Welcome to Dirty 130, friends
so
and
dirty.
enemies.
So dirty 130.
Dirty 130. We are covered
Very.
in sand. We've been recycling our own sweat. It's been just a monster out there in the desert,
Covered
let me
in
tell you.
Spice, all the wormies.
Oh, man.
So, if we haven't thrown out enough hints, this is going to be a watch. We just came from the theater, and we have watched Dune 2. And this is going to be our first watch review for this year.
Woohoo!
And lo and behold, we're going to probably do one 2 weeks from now when Ghostbusters Frozen
Seriously.
Empire comes out. So, it's like, going to have a couple right in a row.
We're going to be right back at it.
Which is awesome. Because
I mean, to be fair, how many movies come out in January and February where you're like, gotta go see it?
Well,
like,
that's
let's
true.
go. Let's
That's
fucking
true.
go.
But the positive is we're going to start the year with 2 watch and reviews that are not superhero movies.
I like that.
Isn't
I'm
that
really
great?
happy with that.
Like I know we talked about this last year of trying to do this, and so I'm hoping we do this more. Like there's probably gonna be a couple I know Deadpool
3 is
it's
definitely
gonna be
a
in
watch
there and all
review.
that,
But no, I agree, because like that's always been our goal.
Yes.
Since I would say all of 2023, we really wanted to move away.
Oh, yeah.
But Marvel just kept on pulling us back in. But here's the thing: Marvel shit the bed, so we don't really have that Coriolis pulling us back in. And of course,
we almost walked into Madam Web, and that is a joke.
we thought about
never
it.
did.
We thought about it,
But it was playing in the same theater we were at. So
I think that was the movie that had sound bleeding in. Did you notice that during?
I did hear people crying, so that must have been
That might have been it. That might have been
it.
it.
Yeah, that might have been it from just the pain.
Yeah.
So, folks, episode 130, that means there are 129 former episodes. Please go back and listen to our back catalog. It is great. Please go to youtube.com, where Al has been putting up segments from our shows, and once again, he has put up segments from the classic Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show Rant. So,
Yes, sir.
if you want to know anything about us, man, you just need to go listen to those shows. That pretty much is us.
That is a really good metric.
Yes.
I should go through and like clip out the Homecoming rant and some of the more choice Star Trek and Star Wars rants.
Yeah, I like that.
Put them
because
up on.
It to me, when we are really showing our passion,
Yeah.
it makes the show better.
I still wish the cameras hadn't autoed off during the Homecoming episode and we'd actually gotten a full recording of me talking about Homecoming.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad that didn't
I
happen.
know, you went nuts on
It's
that.
not like I can't recreate it.
Oh, I think if you can go to little snippets from all 129 previous episodes, you could put together a full 3 hours of you bitching about Homecoming.
I'm sure.
I absolutely
I'm sure.
sure.
It was very funny. We were talking on the way home about like getting away from negativity.
Yes.
And I'm just sitting here like, oh, but you know what I hate? But also, we were just sitting here talking about how we're not going to do superhero stuff, and next week we might have some superhero stuff.
I know.
So you never know.
But here's the thing, though. It's not negativity, it's critique.
Yes.
It's not like typical negativity. It's
No.
us saying, all right, we want you to do better.
This is an
This is
artistic
what you've
critique.
done wrong.
Yes.
Fix it.
Don't do it again.
Don't do it again. Even though you keep doing it again, like somebody with a head of drama, don't do it again.
I'm sitting here with a child in front of a hot stove trying to teach them how to make eggs.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we don't touch the hot stove. We use it to cook our food. Oh, I touch the hot stove. No, we don't touch the hot stove. And you just do that for 4 years. And you're like, God damn it, this
How
child's an
many
idiot.
third-degree burns are they going to get on their
This
fucking
child's
hands?
an idiot.
All right, so we are going to start this episode with what we always do, is what we've been watching, playing, reading. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, you were mentioning this in the theater.
I watched a movie last night that I have not had a movie that has haunted me as much as this movie. And it is something that you'll be able to see. Like I said, it's in my zone of interest.
Yes.
The German language Oscar-nominated film about Rudolf Haas.
Oh, yeah, dude. I don't know if I can follow you down this rabbit hole.
No. This is what makes it different. It's about Rudolf Haas, the guy that ran Auschwitz and was pretty much at the Hague. He was linked to 3.5 million Jewish deaths.
Yeah.
It is his home life. So it takes place within the walls of his house, which he had this big house and had this fence around it. You couldn't see. You could see the tops of the buildings of Auschwitz, but you couldn't see in it. You never see any prisoners, except for every now and then one will like come in to do some gardening, and it's just brief and you don't really see them, and it's just the normal home life of this guy and his wife and their kids. But what's haunting is they'll be just having a mundane conversation about something, and you hear like very faint cries in the background and gunshots, and you can see like the ash coming from the... And so it's not like Schindler's List that you're seeing the violence.
Yeah.
Which makes Schindler's List, which is still one of the greatest films ever made, almost impossible to watch. Once you've seen it once, very hard to watch.
Yeah.
The thing about this one is you don't see it, but that's what's haunting. It's not what you see. It's kind of like an old school horror movie. It's not what you see. It's what your mind is telling you that's going on. And you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it haunting as fuck.
No, it sounds to me like Night and Fog, which was... I don't remember who made Night and Fog. I'll look it up really quick. Night and Fog is basically a documentary showing the after effects of, specifically at Auschwitz, but the Holocaust in general. So it's the piles of shoes and all the hair, and
you get a little bit of that at the end of this.
Exactly. And it's same as what you were saying before. It is one of those movies that will just rewrite how you see things. It's devastating and horrible, and it makes you feel sick. Oh, of course, Alan Renee.
Oh, there you go.
Of course, Renee.
It is a very artsy film, and I do warn anyone who sees it, like the first 3 minutes, I thought my TV was broken. It's like pitch black, and there's some little sounds, and then there are no sounds.
Yeah.
And then you start to hear birds, and then it opens on your first scene of Haas and his family outside. But like at first I'm like, and then they kind of do it at the end where it ends with a similar thing. It truly is an amazing movie. It's only like an hour and a half. It's not super long. Mm-hmm. The acting is spectacular because they were able to pull it off that when you are watching it, you know, there will come a point where you're like, you kind of get invested in just the personal life of these people, almost forgetting that these are more like the husband and you realize the wife, you know, easily two of the worst human beings that have ever been put on this planet.
Yeah.
But the wife who you see her as a wife and a mother, and then towards the end of the film, she starts to say things that you're like, not only is she complicit in everything he does, she would take his place.
She's telling him to do it.
Well, it's not even that. It's like there's a scene where she has some of their housekeepers are locals. They're not prisoners, but they're locals who are pretty much their slaves. Uh-huh. And her mother was staying with them, but then she left and she was kind of mad. And so she told her the servant to take the extra plate from the table. And she said, "Are you doing this to make fun of me? I will have my husband burn you and spread your ashes over the..." And it's like, when she said that, it was like, holy shit. Like, because you don't hear, like, you see her, you know, they're talking about going on vacation and they're talking about this, and you're like, oh. And then when she says that, you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah. No, it truly is. Like, I know you like doing this every year, too. I really want to try. There's so many Oscar-nominated movies I want to see. But I had heard so much about this one. I'm like, I really want to see it. And I don't regret it. Yeah. And it's, you know, I don't regret buying it either. Because it is something that, like, I would use as a teaching tool when my kids get older and they're learning about the Holocaust. Yeah. Because, once again, it's PG. You don't see any blood or any violence. You don't see anything, really. But it's just knowing, like... starting about like, this is who this person was, this is what this person did, knowing about that, and then watching how nonchalant they can just carry on with their lives, even though he is killing 3 million fucking people. He's just like, you know, he's talking to his horse, and you know, he had a meeting in the movie with these guys who were trying to renovate the gas chambers to make them more efficient. But they're talking as if they're building a shed. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and you could do this, and at this cost. And
we can get this many people through it.
And it's like, it's just so well done. It's one of the best horror movies I've ever seen.
It's shocking in its nonchalance.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's what's haunting. Like,
Exactly.
and that's what I mean. And that's the thing that's beautiful about it. Not only visually is it a beautiful movie, because it is just the way it's shot and it's just gorgeous, but the sound in it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how this movie couldn't win the award for sound mixing. Because it is so unbelievably unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's just the sound.
Yeah.
Like, to say that about any movie, I know this. We love the sound in Oppenheimer, but you're
I was just about to
visualizing
say,
it.
yeah.
You're seeing it. Where this, you're not seeing anything, and just the sound is terrifying you
Yeah.
and down to your core.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean, I watched it late last night. I took a gummy. So typically, if I watch a movie at night,
Definitely the movie to take a gummy with.
dude. But if you take, but like watching it at night, and I gotta admit, the gummy actually didn't. You know, it was one of those times where it didn't actually do much.
Yeah.
But typically, if I watch any movie at night, the night before, I watched The Kingsman again. With Ray Fiennes.
Yeah.
Loved that movie. I had a gummy. Still kind of passing out during it, even though I loved the movie. It was at the same time. Last night, I couldn't even lay down.
Mm-hmm.
I had to sit. And then I couldn't go to bed. I had to play an hour of Zelda just to wind
wash it
myself
out of
down.
Yeah, yeah.
It was fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it sounds to me a lot like a class I took at Purchase, which was trauma in filmmaking.
Yeah.
Which was about how different cultures have taken traumatic events and used the lens of film to try and interpret and show that trauma to other cultures and outside sources who may be having trouble understanding the length and depth of what exactly has happened and what is really bothering the people that are affected by it. I don't know if I can watch it just because, like, I've seen a lot of these movies, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't be made anymore. They absolutely need to continue to be made because Lord knows you look around the current environment of everything, and obviously people have completely forgotten what's going on at the heart of a lot of issues. Man, between this and Night and Fog and Hiroshima Mon Amour and Grave of the Fireflies, it's just like, okay, yeah, no, okay.
Well, and I can understand that. But this, once again, the one thing about this is it showed, and this does pertain a lot to today, it shows the evil people and how mundane their lives are still.
The
and how
ease of being evil.
And yeah, how absolutely it didn't affect them whatsoever.
Yeah.
They were talking about killing people as if they were talking about just anything else at your job.
They weren't bothered by what was
But
going
then,
on.
you know, you have a father that obviously loved his children and a mother, and, you know, their dynamic between the two of them, and it was fascinating in it was horrific in a different way.
Yeah.
Like a lot of those movies you talked about, and pretty much any movie I've seen that dealt with this topic, it's been horrific in a more visceral way, where this one was more just kind of abstract horror, but it was in some ways more horrific because of it.
Yeah.
But it was, like I said, it was so good. Like it was, I hate to say that, you don't want to say that about the movies.
I understand.
But like the guy that played Haas was spectacular. I mean, the acting was all just fantastic.
It's a German-made film, isn't it? Zone of Interest.
I don't think the director was German, to be honest with you.
Okay.
He might be.
Jonathan Glazer was the director.
Yeah, Jonathan Glazer.
He did Under the Skin. He did
Like
The
an Apple Watch
Fall.
commercial.
He did he's done a few music videos.
Yeah. So it's like when he's not the person I thought would made this movie.
Yeah.
But it was Christian Friedel is Rudolf Haas. Dude. Like, I don't know how this guy's gonna be able to deal with life after making this
Seriously.
movie. Like, it was insane. But yeah, once again, I recommend, it's one of those ones that I think is, like you said, especially in today's day and age, it's important to show this to people who maybe are desensitized thanks to people like Trump.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, it's just normal. It's like, well, this to them was normal.
This is what happens.
While they killed 3.5 million people.
This is what happens when you let hate fester.
Exactly.
When you start believing the lies that you tell yourself about why it's someone else's fault that
or
what
if
is
you make
happening
hate
is
a
happening.
normal occurrence.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's not normal, dude.
It's not normal. It's not normal to do this, and it is poison. It will drive you to your worst depths. Humans are capable of some truly heinous acts, and all of them are perpetrated out of evil and hate and fear.
Yeah.
And this is no different. And it's just, I agree. You gotta, it's tricky because, since we're talking about Oscars, I've seen people talk about how Oppenheimer should have been not nominated is not the right way to put it. Godzilla Year One should have been nominated either in place of or with Oppenheimer to kind of have like a balance to the scale. So you have Oppenheimer, which is just kind of this neutral look at what happened. It doesn't say whether he's evil or good. It just says, this is what happened. And then you have Godzilla Year One, which is like the actual ramifications of that on a metaphorical level. And so I kind of look at Zone of Interest in Oppenheimer, and it's that kind of darkness of that era of just like the worst things that humans have done in that period. We found ways to do worse things since then. I don't know if they're worse, but they're at least.
And what I liked about both films, Oppenheimer and this, is they don't candy coat it like a lot of Hollywood movies do. Oppenheimer, like you said, it's neutral, but it's neutral towards him. It's not neutral about what he did.
No.
Like Nolan's very upfront saying this is the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity, pretty much. And that final line of the movie pretty much nailed that.
Yeah.
Well, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you also have just Oppenheimer's general numbness towards the whole thing, where to him it's a math equation. To him it's a puzzle that can be solved. And there's reasons to solve the puzzle, and ultimately if you solve the puzzle first, it's better for your side, and evil is going to be done with this puzzle regardless of who solves it first. And I get all that, but I do also agree with some people who have said like they needed to make it even clearer the level of evil that was at the heart of what was happening. And I appreciate that stance. I get it.
See, after watching it, I think they did that in one scene.
Yeah.
And it's the Gary Oldman scene.
Yeah.
That right there, if there's any more that right there is pure. You could tell how evil his intentions were.
Well, and I think a lot of people also wanted Oppenheimer as a character to be more uncomfortable about everything that was happening. But you can't change the story.
Exactly. You can't change the real story.
You can't change the story because you want this character to be more heroic in the modern sense.
Yeah,
you have to tell it as it happens.
It's got to be difficult.
And I get it. I get it on all fronts. But this is always what I say is, I hear people talk about how we shouldn't teach Birth of a Nation in film classes. And I'm like, well...
Yeah, teach it.
You gotta. There's no way you can't.
No.
Like, to gloss over that would be a disservice to your own history. And honestly, like, it's bad policy to just, if you don't agree with something, to disregard it.
Yeah.
To just be like, I don't need this anymore. I hate it. I don't want it in my life. I don't want to think about it. No. You got to hold on to that, because that's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to get better. That's how you're going to look at what you've done and what you're doing now and see how far you've actually come, as opposed to how far your brain is trying to convince you, like, oh, we're so far beyond that. It's like, are we? Are we?
And this kind of goes into what I was talking to you earlier about my previous political stance, where I think the importance of movies like Birth of a Nation and this is you really find out who you are by how comfortable or uncomfortable the movies make you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I found that out with my political past, where I just ended up becoming so uncomfortable with following a certain side that I had to make a change.
Yeah.
And with Birth of a Nation,
it should make you uncomfortable.
It should make you uncomfortable, and that's your rubric. Like, if you watch it, Oppenheimer should make you uncomfortable. They should if they don't make you uncomfortable, you need to look at yourself and be like, why did this not make me feel this way?
Or it's a sugar-coated version of the story.
Yes.
You look at, like, Saving Private Ryan. The first part of Saving Private Ryan, everybody's uncomfortable about the first part of Saving Private Ryan. But then it becomes a American GI action movie. And by the end of the movie, you're not uncomfortable about what's happening. You're a little sad that Tom Hanks dies. Yeah. Spoiler alert. But like,
nice.
You're not sitting there like, you don't have the gut punch, the visceral gut punch of landing on Normandy at the beginning of that movie. That is what movie making and trauma is. That's what we're talking about.
Agree.
And I it's always hard, and it's always like taking your medicine, and it's like, man, I'm gonna just say that at this point I have been I don't want to say inoculized because Aaron Rodgers ruined that statement.
Yes, he did.
But I understand. I might not watch this just because, like, my soul has already taken on enough burden. It's hard enough for me to get up in the morning.
Makes sense.
So, but I am glad that it's a good movie.
It's so good.
Whenever a movie of this caliber comes out, it's always important, and if it's bad, it's always a travesty.
Yeah.
Because if it needs to be good to tell this kind of story. Yeah. We love First Avenger, but if First Avenger doesn't tell an accurate portrayal of World War II, not a really big deal. That's kind of, it's Captain America. How could it?
Yes.
There have been lots of World War II movies, whether it's led by John Wayne, The Longest Day, or whether it's Spielberg or Overlord or any number of filmmakers have come in and
even
put their...
Hellboy starts off as a World War II.
You're not wrong. Yeah. You're not wrong. So I don't want to say I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of what this is. I don't know if I'll make time for it. I've also just gotten kind of lazy when it comes to the Oscars. I used to be so gung-ho about the Oscars.
So many movies I want to see.
And it's just now I've just gotten to a point where I look at the movies that are nominated and I'm like, I genuinely don't care about most of these. Yeah. Like, I might watch Anatomy of a Fall because I've heard it's really good. Mm-hmm. Maybe, if I really want to. I'm going to watch Beautiful Creatures, but that's because I love Emma Stone.
Which that's coming out on...
That's on the Hulu in a few weeks.
Yeah. A couple days, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's coming out soon.
What did you call it?
The Hulu?
What did you call the movie?
Beautiful Creatures?
Poor Things.
Poor Things.
Beautiful Creatures was a different movie.
Was it?
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, is it? I have it in my brain as Beautiful Creatures. Okay, well... Anyway, Poor Things comes out soon on Hulu, and we'll check that out. So I've been watching, playing, reading a few different things. I had some fun yesterday. A buddy of mine came over and we played some Magic.
Nice.
I bring it up because he brought over the Magic Doctor Who deck.
Oh, he did.
And so we played with
Which one was it?
He had all of them. So we played with
all the decks.
Yeah, he's big into Magic. He goes to tournaments. He's big into Magic. Wow. But we played with the Doctor Who deck. It was very interesting. I will say the thing about Magic is that they're always introducing new rules. And so I had a card that was Rory the Roman. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I played it. And then my buddy was like, oh, yeah, no, that's a good card, but you can't use it for 3 more turns. And I'm like, okay. And I'm reading the card. And I'm like, I don't understand what that means. And it's like, you can't cast... It's like saying, like, you can't cast sorcery spells unless this card is exiled. I'm like, well, I'm a little lost on this. And then I'm getting rid of cards out of my hand that I don't think I need. And I get rid of one. And my buddy's like, oh, that card could have helped you win the game. And I'm like, I don't fucking know how any of this works because all these rules are just to the Doctor Who version of Magic. It's not even like all Magic. It's just this version of Magic.
And they ruined it. I know they wanted it to rhyme with Rory the Roman, but it should have been Rory the Centurion. You know, what are you going to do?
Well, he calls him Rory the Roman.
Yeah, he does, but he's also...
It was very funny because my buddy was like, he's not into Doctor Who, but because Magic has all this Doctor Who stuff, he's like, oh, I'll go back and check out some Doctor Who. Can I skip around? And I was like, you can skip entire seasons.
If I was him, I would just do... He's got to do Eccleston.
I told him to avoid Eccleston.
See, to me, you got to do Eccleston because you got to get the introduction of Captain Jack Harkness.
I think you can still get Captain Jack as just one of the many people that come in and out of the Doctor's life. I say this because that's how I met Captain Jack. Okay.
Then you also get your introduction to Rose, who's with David Tennant.
Who's not the greatest companion.
She's not the greatest.
And you have to sit through some pretty terrible CGI.
Oh, CGI
There's some
terrible.
Awful CGI and a full episode of The Weakest Link. So I always advise people, you don't need to watch Eccleston. Start with Tennant. Tennant is really where it takes off. The graphics and the look of things are still going to be a little slow until you get to Matt Smith, and that's where the U.S. money comes in, and then it takes this big step forward.
Big step.
But I can't in good conscience tell anybody to watch Eccleston because it's just so slow compared to so many others.
It has one of the best episodes ever. Are You My Mummy? The Hollow
Child. Is a good one.
The Hollow Child is so fucking good.
That
it's
is
so
a good
terrifying.
One. That has big David Tennant energy. of
Yeah.
like, you know, the monster that turns out to not be a monster.
And I kick myself for never having my son dress up as that little boy.
You
for
still can.
Halloween.
He's not too big.
No, he's getting a little. He's a little more opinionated now. Is the problem? When he was younger, and I could say, "Oh, you're gonna wear this for Halloween," but now he wants to wear what he wants.
I'm
to
sure
wear.
if you got him a World War II gas mask, he would be in.
I don't know. He probably scared the shit out of him. I ain't showing him that episode. He'll have nightmares for a year.
Yeah, no,
after
that's
that
true.
episode.
That's true. So that was fun playing that.
Nice.
It was also great because we played, at one point, I used one of my homemade decks.
Oh, nice.
And he used a Lord of the Rings deck, all of which I bring up only because I get to say that Sam's old gaffer took me behind the woodshed and beat the shit out of me.
Nice.
Like, just awful garbage
Nice.
beat the shit out of me. He had it set up so that the gaffer was just farming food tokens.
Okay.
And if you discard a food token, you can get 3 life back.
Okay.
And then he also had a card that made it so anytime he gained life, I lost life. So he was just farming these food tokens and constantly refreshing them. And his life is going up, and my life is going down. And I'm just looking at him as he's working this machine. Have you seen the marble music maker machine? Versus a guy, he has a big crank, and it's just these marbles spilling out and hitting like keys and guitar strings and all other things to make a really great musical crescendo. It was like watching that, where it's just him pulling this crank of the old gaffer going, and it was just like, up, and you're going to get hit for damage, and you're going to hit for damage, and you're going to get hit for damage, and you're going to get hit for damage, and I'm going to farm more cards, and you're going to get hit for more damage. And I'm just like, okay, I have like 5 cards on the table, you have over 20, like well over 20 cards on the table. So like, yeah, I'm going to lose this one. But it was fun. It was a good time.
It is sad that throughout my many decades of nerd street cred, I just can't get Magic.
Magic was something that eluded me for so long.
Yeah.
Like so long. I literally had to have 4 different people teach me Magic at varying points, including the buddy I was hanging out with yesterday who has taught me Magic twice now. And it took so long for me to get into it. Because for so long I thought of it as just like Pokemon but with more rules, which like fundamentally it is.
Kind of is.
But also the more rules part is there's a lot more rules to it than just that. So it is definitely daunting where I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, okay, I think this is a good card. I also have no fucking clue how to use it. I thought I did. Like my go-to in Magic is I'm just gonna put a lot of monsters together. I'm not gonna have any strategy. I'm just gonna have as many monsters as I can so that they can take as many swings as they can. Because I could sit down and come up with an entire artifact deck like Kelly's cousin did. And he's like showing me all these artifacts in his deck that he's built so that it just makes you discard cards the entire game. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't have the strategy brain for that.
No.
To be like, yeah, I can figure this out.
See, I'm there with you, and that's why I was never good at video games that use the card-based system. Like I back in the day played Baten Kaidos. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I
on the
remember Baten
GameCube.
Kaidos, yeah.
I couldn't get into it just because of the card.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I've never been able to get into that stuff.
I had a buddy, one of the guys that tried to teach me Magic. He used to play Final Fantasy VIII, and he wouldn't fight any monsters the entire game.
Really?
Because he was so good at the card game that he would end up basically OPing himself before the first real monster dungeon, because he would just play the card game and just level up in the card game, and that got you all these bonuses and all these things that he got as a result. And so he'd beat the game at level 1 because he just had all of these other things that he had unlocked via the card game.
That's crazy.
I'm like, okay, dude, I don't know that I could ever do that, but wow.
I guess that's one way to do it.
Yeah,
man.
there's a million ways to skin a cat, right?
Yeah.
No, the other thing that I wanted to bring up was we watched the Ralph Bakshi movie, Fire and Ice.
Oh, how was it?
It's good. Bakshi is an interesting filmmaker. I really like his style. I really like his vision for filmmaking. This is one of the horniest movies I've ever seen.
Really?
Like, just so fucking horny. Like, to the point where I had asked Kelly. Me and Kelly watched Fire and Ice years ago. And then I was watching a YouTube channel, and it came up on the show. And I was like, oh, Fire and Ice, that'd be fun to watch. And my parents are coming over. Maybe we can watch Fire and Ice with my parents. And Kelly's like, that's an interesting idea. Cut to us watching Fire and Ice without my parents. And I'm like, I fully forgot how horny this movie is. And Kelly's like, that's why I was shocked that you wanted to watch it with your parents. This is, like, we were talking a little while ago about how Rogue from X-Men 97 put a bunch of kids through puberty.
Oh, yeah.
On steroids. Steve, the lead female character, is in, like, not just a bikini, one of those string bikinis.
String thongs.
That it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Well, and looking at the pictures, I do remember seeing this movie, and it's pretty much heavy metal.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was going to be my reference point. I was going to say, it has the horniness of a heavy metal type.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, and they're a little equal opportunity. I say little because, like, they have a lot of guy butts, but not to the degree that they have. The lead female character, her everything is out the whole movie.
Yeah.
And her first move is to try and seduce people, to try and get them off foot so that she can launch an attack. And I will say this, she's never a damsel. She saves the day on numerous occasions. She protects herself all the time. She's not waiting for some guy, some Wesley, to come over and save her. But oh my god, this movie's so fucking horny. It's just so fucking horny. To the point where at the beginning of the movie, when a wizard is conjuring a glacier that is just crushing the nation, he looks like he's getting a blowjob. Like,
really?
He's sitting there squirming like he's getting a blowjob or something. And I'm like, what is going on?
Early 80s was a different time, man.
He throws off his cloak and he's just wearing a Speedo. And so it's him and another guy in a fur Speedo. Like, there were so many moments where I was like, oh, this is where 300 got it. And it's just, my God. It's a brilliant movie. The whole thing is rotoscoped, I think. So it has this really realistic action and movement to it. And it's really beautiful to watch for that. And the faces are good. The animation of the characters is good. The voice acting leaves a little to be desired. I won't lie. Some of the voice acting's bad. And some of the plot makes no fucking sense.
Is this on Vudu? I haven't watched
This is on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
This is on the Prime.
Amazon, yeah.
But
it's been a while since I've seen this movie.
It's 80 minutes long. It goes down quick. But oh my God. Holy shit.
Well, and they made, God, I guess it's got to be a few seasons ago. They made a South Park called Major Boobage.
I remember this one with Kenny.
Where he gets high and he goes, and that reminds me of this because it's the same thing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you are one, because I think John Candy's in heavy metal, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You're one John Candy away from this being heavy metal, because it is just like, take He-Man and remove some of the clothes.
Yeah.
Like, it is endlessly horny.
Yeah.
I'm watching as these Neanderthals and these humans are fighting in this post-Ice Age era, and I'm like, you guys should at least be able to agree on clothes suck, because none of you are wearing any, and you're in the middle of these ice forests, and it's just cold all the time, and all you are crazy naked all the time.
This is the time of the horny animators. These are all the Disney ones with putting the penises and
no,
aerials.
like, this is the thing, is that you go back through Ralph Bakshi, and if you take the Lord of the Rings movies out of the mix, and you just look at, like, Fritz the Cat and Wizards and Fire and Ice, it's like, oh shit, this was a fucking horny old man.
This guy must have learned from Japanese anime.
Oh, God.
If you're going to draw boobs, make them insanely big.
Just so fucking horny.
Yeah.
Just like that shot we talked about with Rogue being butt out to camera.
Yep.
It's every shot is butt out to camera.
I love how now since X-Men 97's coming out, anytime you go on Instagram or anything, somebody has posted that scene of her with her butt out. I'm like, ooh,
butts out. Butts out for March.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
No, but that was fun. It is a good watch. In that kind of like 80s, you just kind of have to take what they give you and not sit there and question, why is this happening? Why isn't this character doing this? Why does this character behave this way? Why doesn't anybody say anything about this? And you just kind of got to roll with those punches and be like, I don't care. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
It's like that was the time of like Beastmaster and all those awful live action movies that you're
it was super funny because you have this woman who is just made the object of desire for literally every character, and she's brought before the villain by the villain's mother, and she's like, I brought you a wife, and the villain is like, I don't want a wife, and then the male character shows up and he's like, Let's tango. Let's wrestle. And I'm like, I think I see what the actual problem
Hey,
here
you're not hiding
is.
anything with this, are you? It's pretty much in your face.
Yeah.
Literally in your face.
A little bit.